Hi there, today marks the 500th video on the Dylan Rounds case, a retrospective look on how the case went in the community area, the aspect of that, and a comparison to present time with a different true crime case known as Noah Presgrove. Has it differed greatly? Well, I always referred to the Dylan Rounds case with time, people in the community as problematic, causing more harm than good in the case, drip feeding information, other strangers claiming to know more about the case inside than the actual victim's family, etc. And others, personal representatives of the victim's family, when the victim's family had no clue that those said individuals were talking. And it was a load of BS. So the video that I did previously on Dylan Rounds, it was talking about what could have changed if it was handled differently, whether it be by police, whether it be by any private investigators. If it was handled differently, there was a level of proactive behaviour in the case early on, actually searching the correct areas, using the correct resources, not delaying, not stalling, but just going all in. Would it have led to a better resolve? Would it have been solved quicker? In some ways, yes, it should have been resolved quicker. I mean, there was still some key turning points which did come into play, found early on, but deep dived later, as in like the forensic deep dive of Noah's phone. Major turning point based on what was found on it, which was that time-lapse footage of Brenner. And that footage was revealed at some point in 2025, some months ago, in its full format. And it showed the timing, the blood on Brenner, and so on. But when it comes to the community, their reactions and responses with time didn't quite see eye to eye on it. There was always like diminishing, downplaying, and saying, well, it's probably not Dylan's blood, which is on Brenner. It's someone else's blood. It could be animal blood. And yet it was clearly described that there was touch-based DNA of Dylan on Brenner's shirt and so on. So you'd expect the blood too as well, just common sense. But as said, Dylan Rounds case community, there just wasn't common sense, just not there. Noah Presgrove case community, really no common sense there either, if not worse. And that really says a lot, because the Dylan Rounds community at times could be volatile, could be reckless all over the place, more so elsewhere, not here. So with the Noah Presgrove community and case, that's just as dodgy, if not worse, more in recent time. And with Ghost from the past, from Dylan Rounds to Noah Presgrove and returning, not looking good. However, if you used to take a retrospective outlook on taking things out, how could the case have been handled? How could it have gone better in terms of the outside perspective, the masses of people, the creators, the commenters, the viewers and all of that? Could it have been any different? Would it have been any better if there was less people covering the case? And I would say absolutely. All you need is just one person to cover the case in terms of the social media online aspect. But of course, what is required is key people here and there that have the resources, the material, any background stuff to pass on, to share, and then for one to analyse and then express, and so on. Here and there, smaller groups of people, smaller creators of people can also work just as well, tight-knit, functional, practical. But then when there's too many personalities, too many people with all their associated little groups and audience members, may not always see eye to eye, may not always gel well. And the beginning of a disaster is through disagreement, and through disagreement tends to always lead to drama, because people can't control themselves. There's always overly emotional humans, many of that in the Dylan Rounds case community. A lot of wailing banshees as well. A lot of fake vulnerable people claiming to be weak, claiming, oh, I don't know what I'm really doing, oh, I'm trapped, but they know exactly what they're doing. They really do. In the Noah Presgrove case, it's no different there. People playing on the health card, the mind card, the vulnerable card and so on and so on. It's just manipulative behaviour. Doesn't do any good. We've seen the fractures, we've seen the reforming, allegiances. Everything what you would have seen and felt in the Dylan Rounds case community has happened with Noah Presgrove, and it's getting worse as time goes on. It's embarrassing, it's pathetic, but at least with the Dylan Rounds case, that was resolved in the end. But for all that time spent, too many people, too much noise and mess and chaos and hypocrisy and double standards, all of it. See, at the end of the day, if you look at the core elements, the core people within the case, as in the outside sphere, the creators, the ones that covered the case, spread awareness. Mob Crew Chris, needed in the case, did well. Did his own little searches, provided footage, aerial footage, important, yes. Also worked alongside family during the private searches and respected them and their wishes, good. Mob Crew Chris was an important person in the case in the community online. Salty pancakes for a brief spell in the early days for at least providing alternative footage on site at the Grangeshed, the scene, important, but then ruined it all afterwards with their behaviour and downward spiral along with the community audience members too. No thanks, investigates Doug Hutton. Important and vital, at least for the platform aspect of giving the victim's mother, what's her name called? Candice Cooley, a voice to talk and answer questions and give answers and give updates. Really important that. Filled in a lot of blank spots, grey areas, and also added in some further questions as to what was said before, to what was said later. Really important that phase. Made notes, learned, and progressed. However, No Thanks investigates, threw it all away with conflict drama being exposed and bad stuff going on in the background, which led to the channel being taken down, which led to all that content being taken down, all those interviews being lost. One's own reckless actions and beyond and past and future dragged them down, also had a chain reaction domino effect on the case, unfortunately. Right? So there's been some good moments, there was, but then it was ruined, most of it. But Mob Crew Chris is a consistent example of doing what needs to be done, doing what they can, and so on, and remaining and being consistent, and then moving on with other cases ever since. Scott Natal, another key individual, didn't do anything wrong, all fine there. When you look at Ty Corbin, when you look at Lance Kelly and them lot, drama in there, splits, parts, mess. People, general public, that went out of their way on their terms to try and look, volunteer in one way independently for Dylan Rounds. All good what they did. Not everybody may see eye to eye with it. There is the counterpoint that despite all that searching, it was in a completely different area, nowhere near the actual spot where Dylan was to be found. That me, even though I did no searches, I was the one to basically publicly reveal and be the first person to publicly reveal the spot where parts where Dylan Rounds was at, right? So you could say, in terms of the moral aspect, going out searching, really good of people, of course, but in terms of the practicality aspect, the outcome, without sounding bad, waste of time. Got to be efficient. And there was those instances of certain independent searchers going out there when they shouldn't have done, or they shouldn't have been on certain land, but they went against the wishes of the victim's family and carried on pushing forwards, which is the opposite of what Mob Crew Chris did. So there is that. When it comes to the rest, if you want to call them podcasters, the live streamers, the 6 to 8, 10-hour long sessions of talking a bit about the case, and then the rest just laughing, giggling, joking, messing about, and bringing in a tornado of drama into the community, plaguing it all, and back and forth with other creators, back and forth with other investigators, a total mess, a lot of noise, and then the communities and audiences all at war. That, if you used to take away majority of those people, right, you will know those people. You will remember those people. It's documented on my channel as well. You eliminate and you remove and you cleanse every one of them. So the only people that are left is Warlike Wrath, Mob Crew Chris, and a couple of other people that had covered the case in some way and did it above board, the environment would have been a much better place. That's a fact. More space, more room to breathe and think without being attacked. But it never happened. So with the Noah Presgrove case, was that any better? In terms of the YouTube side, yes, at first. Ever since, it's gone downhill. And why? Because the odd of a creator has come up. Similar, well, basically the same exact attacks, the same type of false claims, the same type of degenerative behavior, all of that directed at me, which is what I was on the receiving end of in the Dylan Rounds case. So nothing's changed there. Different people, same attitudes and silly behavior. In the early days of me covering the Noah Presgrove case, it was mainly just me. So it was empty, it was quiet, it was fine, it was good. But then as soon as the people come on in, that's where it gets ruined. Yes, on Facebook and other platforms, forums, it was more active, the case. That's fine, that's elsewhere. Not here, not infested, not plagued, but it has ever since, which is really unfortunate. And there's been so many useless people and useless peasant-like minds which have come about since, compared to the Dylan Rounds case, which I thought was bad enough, right? Really low IQ, obtuse individuals. No. The Noah Presgrove situation is far worse. And if you're not quite familiar with the Noah Presgrove case, brace yourself if you do get involved with it. If you ask a question, you're deemed as an evil person. If you think of it in a different way, as in a different type of death, if you don't agree that it's murder, that it could be something else, you're regarded as an evil person. That is the reality. I'd like to do a video sometime to really simplify it and break it down, as in how stupid everything sounds based on how stupid people can be. It really is pathetic. There's a lot of humans that need their head repeatedly bashing against a velvet soft pillow and feathers. People need to get a grip of themselves, but likely they never will do. So whereas I've covered case to case, there's many similarities and they're not good, unfortunately. And being the black sheep remains a constant. But I would say whenever you are the black sheep, it's likely you're on the right pathway and the rest are not. So, in terms of the Dylan Rounds case, as long as that went on for there was a resolve. With Noah Presgrove, that's still pending, and the odd person taken in, but on unrelated charges. Will it be similar to Brenner? Maybe time will tell. But for anyone that wants to learn more about Noah Presgrove, top right corner where the eye symbol is, you'll be able to find the full playlist up there. And for those coming from the Noah Presgrove case, you'll find the full playlist up there for Dylan Rounds. This is likely my last video on the Dylan Rounds case, the 500th video. You let me know your thoughts, your retrospective outlook, whether you agree or disagree. And then that's pretty much it. My name's Warlike Raph. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.